The United Nations building in New York City buzzed with activity. World leaders from every country rushed in, their faces grim. They had all seen the video of little Timmy's death. Now, they gathered to decide Earth's response. Inside the main hall, the atmosphere was tense. The U.S. President, a tall woman with steel-gray hair, stood at the podium. "We've been attacked," she said, her voice echoing in the silent room. "An innocent child was murdered. We must act." The Chinese premier nodded in agreement. "For too long, we've ignored the threat of the Galactic Empire. We thought staying quiet would keep us safe. We were wrong." One by one, leaders stood up to speak. Some called for immediate war. Others wanted to try diplomacy first. But all agreed on one thing: Earth needed to unite. As the debate raged on, a young aide burst into the room. "Madam President," he shouted, waving a tablet, "we've just received another message from the Empire." The room fell silent as the message played on the big screen. The alien leader, its scaly face filling the frame, spoke in a cold, mechanical voice. "Humans," it said, "you are weak. Your colonies will be destroyed. Your planet will be next. Surrender now or face extinction." Gasps filled the room. Then, slowly, the gasps turned to angry mutters. The Russian president, a burly man with a thick beard, stood up. "I say we show these aliens what humans can do," he roared. "We've fought each other for centuries. Imagine what we can do if we fight together." A cheer went up from the assembly. The UN Secretary General, an elderly woman from Ghana, raised her hands for quiet. "Then it's decided," she said. "From this moment on, all nations of Earth are united against the Galactic Empire. We will pool our resources, our technology, our armies. We will build a fleet like none ever seen before." As the leaders worked out the details, news of the decision spread across the globe. In every city, town, and village, people gathered around screens to watch. When they heard the plan, a wave of determination swept the planet. Factories that once made cars now started building spaceship parts. Schools began teaching advanced physics and space combat tactics. Millions of people volunteered for the new Earth Defense Force. In orbit, construction began on massive space docks. Day and night, shuttles ferried materials from Earth. Scientists worked around the clock, developing new weapons and defenses. They knew they had to catch up to the Empire's technology fast. Meanwhile, diplomats reached out to other alien races. Some had also suffered under the Empire's cruelty. They agreed to share knowledge and resources with Earth. Others, fearing the Empire's wrath, refused to help. Back on Earth, the changes were dramatic. The world economy shifted entirely to a war footing. Rationing was introduced to ensure everyone had enough while resources went to the war effort. But few complained. The image of Timmy's smiling face, contrasted with his tragic end, was burned into everyone's minds. In a secret facility under the Atlantic Ocean, Earth's best engineers put the finishing touches on the first of the new battleships. It was a monster of a vessel, bristling with weapons and protected by shields far beyond what humans had before. As the ship rose from the waves for its first flight, crowds gathered on nearby shores to watch. A cheer went up as it soared into the sky, heading for the orbital docks. It was just the first of many to come. In her office in Washington, the U.S. president looked at the latest reports. The number made her eyes widen. 700,000. That was how many battleships they planned to build. It seemed impossible, yet looking at how the world had come together, she knew they would do it. She turned to her chief of staff. "Send a message to all world leaders," she said. "Tell them Phase 1 is complete. We're ready to begin full production." As night fell across the Earth, shipyards in orbit glowed with activity. The greatest fleet in human history was about to be born. And somewhere out there, the Galactic Empire had no idea what was coming. The hum of machinery filled the air as factories across Earth worked nonstop. In what used to be car plants, robots now assembled spaceship parts. Former cruise ships became floating academies, training future space crews. The world had changed, and everyone felt it. In orbit, massive space stations grew larger every day. These were the new shipyards, where Earth's fleet would be born. Shuttles zipped back and forth, bringing materials and workers. It looked like a giant 3D puzzle being put together in space. Down in a lab in Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka stared at her computer screen. She hadn't slept in days, but she didn't care. She was close to a breakthrough. "Eureka!" she shouted, startling her team. "I've done it. A way to make our ships move faster than light." The news spread quickly. Faster-than-light travel had always been the stuff of science fiction. Now, it was real. Humanity had just taken a giant leap forward. Meanwhile, in the deserts of Nevada, a secret testing range buzzed with activity. General Maria Rodriguez watched as a new weapon was prepared for its first test. It was a huge cannon designed to punch through the strongest alien shields. "Fire," she ordered. The cannon let loose a blinding beam of energy. When the light faded, the target, a chunk of metal as big as a house, had vanished. In its place was a smoking crater. The general smiled. "Send word to command," she said. "Project Thunderbolt is ready." Across the globe, millions of volunteers poured into recruitment centers. Young and old, rich and poor, they came from all walks of life. Many had never considered a military career before. But now, they felt called to defend their planet. In a training camp in Brazil, Drill Sergeant Carlos Mendez barked orders at a group of recruits. "Faster," he shouted as they ran an obstacle course. "The aliens won't wait for you to catch your breath." The recruits pushed harder, driven by a mix of fear and determination. High above the Earth, the first complete battleship floated in space. It was christened Avenger, a name that echoed humanity's mood. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. "Run final systems check," she ordered her crew. This was the moment of truth. One by one, the ship's systems came online. Engines, weapons, shields, all working perfectly. A cheer went up from the crew. The Avenger was ready for action. But it was just the beginning. In shipyards around Earth and across the solar system, more vessels were taking shape. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers. A vast armada was forming. Each ship was a marvel of technology, packed with innovations born from humanity's desperate push to catch up with alien tech. Back on Earth, in the underground war room in Geneva, the Supreme Allied Commander studied a holographic display. It showed the progress of the fleet's construction. The number at the bottom kept ticking up. 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 ships completed. "At this rate," an aide said, "we'll reach our goal of 700,000 ships ahead of schedule." The commander nodded. "Good. We'll need every one of them." As the fleet grew, so did Earth's defenses. The moon was transformed into a fortress, bristling with weapon emplacements. Mars became a forward base, ready to launch counterattacks. Even the asteroid belt was put to use, with hidden bases and sensor arrays scattered throughout. In cities around the world, people looked up at the night sky with new eyes. They could see the flashes of light from the orbital shipyards, constant reminders of the work going on above. Some felt fear, knowing that somewhere out there, the Galactic Empire was waiting. But most felt a growing sense of pride and determination. A new poster appeared on streets everywhere. It showed the image of Timmy, the boy whose death had started it all, with the words, "Remember why we fight below." It was a powerful reminder of what was at stake. As the last rays of sunlight faded over the Pacific, another day of frantic activity came to an end. But the work didn't stop. In labs, factories, and training grounds, humans pressed on through the night. They knew that every second counted. The greatest fleet in human history was taking shape, a testament to what humanity could do when united by a common cause. The Galactic Empire had no idea what was coming. The day had finally come. After years of preparation, Earth's mighty fleet was ready to launch. In every city, Crowds gathered to watch the event on giant screens. The air buzzed with excitement and fear. At Kennedy Space Center in Florida, world leaders stood on a stage. Behind them, a massive spaceship towered into the sky. It was the Terran Hope, the flagship of humanity's armada. The ship gleamed in the sunlight, a symbol of Earth's determination. The UN Secretary-General stepped up to the microphone. "Today," she said, her voice echoing around the world, "we take our first step into a larger universe. We go not just to defend our world, but to secure our place among the stars." As she finished speaking, a low rumble filled the air. The Terran Hope's engines ignited, shooting blue flame. Slowly, majestically, the massive ship rose into the sky. Cheers erupted from the crowds as it climbed higher and higher. In orbit, the Terran Hope joined the rest of the fleet. 700,000 ships of all sizes filled Earth's orbit, a sight never before seen in human history. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Jane Foster took a deep breath. "All ships, prepare for departure," she ordered. One by one, the ships activated their faster-than-light drives. Stars seemed to stretch into lines, and then, in a flash, the fleet was gone. Earth's orbit, so crowded a moment ago, was now empty. Inside the ships, millions of crew members settled in for the long journey. They knew it would take months to reach the edge of Empire space. Some played games or watched movies. Others studied alien languages and battle tactics. Everyone felt the weight of their mission. On the Terran Hope, Captain Miguel Rodriguez walked through the ship's massive farm area. Rows of crops stretched as far as he could see. "How's production?" he asked the chief botanist. "On schedule, sir," she replied. "We'll have fresh food for the whole journey." Miguel nodded, impressed. Each ship was a self-contained world, ready for a long voyage. Weeks passed. The fleet traveled through areas of space never before seen by human eyes. New stars, strange nebulas, and unknown planets filled the view screens. Despite the mission's serious nature, many couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. In the fleet's science ships, researchers worked nonstop. They studied everything they passed, adding to humanity's knowledge of the universe. "Look at this," Dr. Emily Chung said to her colleague, pointing at a screen. "These readings suggest there might be other civilizations out here, hiding from the Empire." As they traveled, the fleet encountered other ships. Some fled at the sight of such a massive armada. Others, recognizing the human designs, approached cautiously. On one such meeting, Admiral Foster welcomed alien diplomats aboard the Terran Hope. "We seek allies against the Galactic Empire," she told them. The aliens, tall beings with iridescent skin, listened carefully. "We have suffered under the Empire's rule," their leader said. "We will share what we know and wish you success." These meetings happened several times. Each one provided valuable intelligence about the Empire's strengths and weaknesses. The humans' resolve grew stronger with each encounter. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. One day, alarms blared throughout the fleet. "Empire scout ship detected," came the cry. Ships moved into defensive positions, weapons charged, but the scouts slipped away before they could catch it. "They know we're coming now," Admiral Foster said grimly. "Increase battle readiness. We might have to fight sooner than we thought." The incident put everyone on edge. Training intensified. Weapons were checked and rechecked. In the quiet hours of ship's night, many lay awake, thinking of home and what lay ahead. As the fleet neared Empire space, Admiral Foster called a meeting of all ship captains. "We are about to face our greatest challenge," she told them, her face serious on thousands of screens. "Remember why we're here. Remember Timmy and all those the Empire has hurt. We carry the hopes of Earth with us. Failure is not an option." The captains saluted, their faces determined. As the meeting ended, a message spread through the fleet. Battle stations. The journey was over. The war was about to begin. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Empire space. Alarms blared across all 700,000 ships as they detected Empire vessels nearby. This was it, the moment they had prepared for over years. Admiral Foster's voice crackled over the comms. All ships, battle formations. Remember your training. We fight for Earth, for justice, and for Timmy. On the bridge of the Terran Hope, Captain Sarah Chen watched as holographic displays lit up, showing hundreds of Empire ships approaching. They were outnumbered, but not outgunned. Enemy ships in range, her tactical officer reported. They're charging weapons. Sarah took a deep breath. Fire first salvo. Let's show them what Earth can do. Thousands of energy beams shot out from the human fleet, lighting up space like a fireworks display. The Empire ships, caught off guard by the humans' advanced weapons, took heavy damage. Direct hits across their fleet. The tactical officer shouted, excitement in his voice. Their shields are failing. But the Empire wasn't going to go down easily. They returned fire, their own energy beams slicing through space. Some found their marks, shaking human ships violently. On a smaller destroyer, the U.S. Defiant, things were getting rough. Hull breach on Deck 4. Someone yelled. Captain Mike Okoye gripped his chair as the ship rocked from another hit. Seal it off, he ordered. And keep firing. We're not out of this fight yet. Back on the Terran Hope, Sarah watched the battle unfold. The human fleet was holding its own, even pushing the Empire back. But something wasn't right. This is too easy, she muttered. Then it hit her. It's a trap. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Just as she gave the order, a massive Empire battleship dropped out of hyperspace behind the human fleet. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, easily twice the size of the Terran Hope. By the stars, Sarah whispered, her eyes wide. The Empire battleship opened fire, its weapons far more powerful than anything they'd faced so far. Several human ships exploded under the onslaught. Admiral Foster's voice came over the comms again, steady despite the chaos. Focus fire on that battleship. We take it down. We win this fight. The entire human fleet turned its attention to the new threat. Thousands of weapons fired at once, concentrating on the massive ship's shields. On board the Empire battleship, the alien commander watched in disbelief as his shields started to fail. Impossible, he hissed in his native language. These humans are more advanced than we thought. Back in the thick of the battle, the U.S. Defiant was in trouble. Its engines were failing, and Empire ships were closing in. Captain Okoye knew what he had to do. Set a collision course for the enemy battleship, he ordered, his voice calm. His crew looked at him in shock, but followed the order. The Defiant shot forward, straight towards the massive Empire ship. For Earth, Okoye shouted as his ship slammed into the battleship's weakened shields. The resulting explosion was blinding. When the light faded, a cheer went up across the human fleet. The Empire battleship was severely damaged, its weapons offline. Seeing their strongest ship crippled, the remaining Empire vessels began to retreat. The space around the human fleet, so chaotic moments ago, suddenly fell quiet. On the Terran Hope, Sarah let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Damage report, she called out. We've lost 50 ships, her XO reported. But the Empire fleet is in full retreat. We've won this round, Captain. Sarah nodded, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. They had won, but at a cost. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. This is Captain Chen. Well done, everyone. We've shown the Empire that humanity is not to be trifled with. But this is just the beginning. We've punched through their defenses. Now we take the fight to their core worlds. As the human fleet regrouped and tended to its wounded, news of the victory was transmitted back to Earth. Across the planet, people celebrated in the streets. For the first time since the war began, they dared to hope. In the emptiness of space, the battered but unbroken human fleet prepared for its next move. The real war was just beginning. The human fleet pushed deeper into Empire territory. Each day brought new battles, new challenges. But the humans were learning. adapting. They were no longer the underdogs. Admiral Foster stood on the bridge of the Terran Hope, studying a holographic map. Red dots showed Empire strongholds. Many were now gone, replaced by blue dots of human victories. "Admiral," a young officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." The hologram flickered, showing the face of the UN Secretary-General. "Congratulations on your successes," she said. "But we've received intelligence. The Empire is gathering its full strength for one final battle. They're calling it the Planet Killer." Admiral Foster's face hardened. "Where?" "A system called Proxima Centauri. It's not far from Earth. If they win there—" "They won't," Foster interrupted. "We'll stop them." As the transmission ended, Foster turned to her crew. "Set course for Proxima Centauri. And send word to all ships. This is it. The battle that decides everything." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, racing towards their destiny. In every ship, crews prepared. Weapons were charged. Fighters were fueled. Everyone knew what was at stake. They dropped out of hyperspace near Proxima Centauri. What they saw made even the bravest hearts skip a beat. The Empire fleet was massive, bigger than anything they'd faced before. At its center was a ship so large it looked like a small moon. "By all that's holy," Captain Chen whispered, "is that the Planet Killer?" As if in answer, the giant ship began to move. A beam of energy shot out, striking one of Proxima Centauri's planets. The planet cracked, then exploded into a million pieces. Gasps of horror filled the bridge. But Admiral Foster's voice cut through the shock. "All ships, attack formation Delta. Focus fire on that monster. We take it out, no matter the cost." The space between the fleets lit up with energy beams and explosions. Fighters zipped back and forth, dogfighting in the chaos. The Planet Killer fired again, destroying several human ships with one shot. On the U.S. Vengeance, Captain Yuki Tanaka gritted her teeth. "Engine room, give me everything you've got. We're going in close." The Vengeance shot forward, weaving through the battle. It got close to the Planet Killer, unleashing a barrage of torpedoes. The giant ship shuddered, but its shields held. "It's no good," Yuki shouted. "We need more firepower." Suddenly, a crazy idea struck her. All hands, abandon ship, set a collision course for their main weapon. As escape pods launched, the Vengeance rammed into the Planet Killer's main cannon. The explosion was blinding. When it cleared, the cannon was destroyed, but the Planet Killer still fought on. Back on the Terran Hope, Admiral Foster watched the battle with growing desperation. They were winning against the regular Empire ships, but the Planet Killer seemed unstoppable. Then, a transmission came through. It was Dr. Emily Chang from one of the science vessels. "Admiral, we've analyzed their shield frequency. There's a weakness, but we'd need to hit it with all our ships at once." Foster didn't hesitate. "All ships, this is the Admiral. Concentrate fire on these coordinates. Give it everything you've got." 700,000 ships turned as one, focusing all their firepower on a single point of the Planet Killer. The space around the giant ship lit up like a new sun being born. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, cracks began to appear in the Planet Killer's hull. The cracks spread, growing larger. "Keep firing," Foster shouted. "Don't let up." With a silent scream of tortured metal, the Planet Killer split apart. The explosion that followed was like nothing anyone had ever seen. When it faded, the mighty ship was gone. A cheer went up across the human fleet. Empire ships began to flee or surrender. They had done it. They had won. Admiral Foster sank into her chair, exhausted but triumphant. "Send word to Earth," she said quietly. "Tell them it's over. We've won." As the message sped towards Earth, the battered but victorious human fleet began the long journey home. They had faced the greatest threat in human history and emerged victorious. The galaxy would never be the same again. The human fleet, battered but victorious, made its way to the Empire's capital world. As they approached, they saw signs of chaos. News of the planet killer's destruction had spread, and many Empire worlds were in open revolt. Admiral Foster stood on the bridge of the Terran Hope, watching the planet grow larger on the view screen. "Prepare a landing party," she ordered. "It's time to end this, once and for all." Down on the surface, the Empire's leaders huddled in their grand palace. Fear filled the air. Their mighty fleet was in ruins, their ultimate weapon destroyed. And now, the humans they had dismissed as weak were at their doorstep. The Emperor, a tall, scaly being with 4 arms, paced nervously. "How did this happen?" he hissed. "They were nothing but primitives." A loud boom echoed through the palace. The humans had arrived. Admiral Foster, flanked by Captain Chen, and a squad of Marines, marched into the throne room. Her eyes locked onto the Emperor. "In the name of Earth and all your victims, you are under arrest," she declared. The Emperor snarled, reaching for a weapon. But before he could fire, Captain Chen moved with lightning speed, disarming him. "It's over," Foster said firmly. "Your reign of terror ends today." As the Emperor and his top officials were led away in chains, Foster turned to Chen. "Send word to all Empire worlds. Tell them they're free now, and invite representatives to a galactic peace conference on Earth." News of the Empire's fall spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On thousands of worlds, oppressed beings celebrated their newfound freedom. Many sent messages of thanks to the humans, hailing them as liberators. Back on Earth, preparations were underway for the fleet's return. Streets were decorated, stages were built. The world waited with bated breath to welcome home their heroes. Finally, the day arrived. As the fleet appeared in the sky, a cheer went up that could be heard from space. Ships landed, and wary but proud crews stepped out to a hero's welcome. In New York, a special session of the United Nations was called. Representatives from Earth and hundreds of alien worlds gathered. It was time to shape the future of the galaxy. Admiral Foster, now hailed as the savior of Earth and liberator of the galaxy, took the podium. "We stand at a crossroads," she began. "We've defeated a great evil, but now we must ensure it never rises again. I propose we form a galactic alliance where all worlds have a voice, and the strong protect the weak." The proposal was met with thunderous applause. Over the next weeks, the details were hammered out. A new era of peace and cooperation was dawning. But amidst the celebration, Earth didn't forget the reason for their great journey. In a quiet ceremony, a memorial was unveiled in the very field where Timmy had played. It showed a young boy looking up at the stars, with the words, "In memory of Timmy, whose innocent life inspired Earth to reach for the stars and find justice." Timmy's parents stood before the memorial, tears in their eyes. Admiral Foster approached them. "Your son's memory gave us strength," she said softly. "His sacrifice saved countless lives across the galaxy." As the sun set on this historic day, people across Earth and beyond looked to the stars with new eyes. The galaxy was no longer a place of fear and oppression. It was a realm of wonder and opportunity, waiting to be explored. In schools, children learned the story of how Earth stood up to a mighty empire and won. They learned about bravery, sacrifice, and the power of unity. But most of all, they learned that even in the darkest times, hope could light the way. And somewhere out there, on a distant world, a young alien child looked up at the stars and dreamed of visiting Earth, the planet of heroes who had changed the galaxy forever. The story of humanity's great victory would be told for generations to come, a testament to what could be achieved when a planet united for a just cause. Earth had taken its place among the stars, ready for whatever new adventures the universe might bring.